the Jai Radha Madhava song. So, all of you, welcome again back to the Bhagavad Gita Study Circle. Let's begin today's session with the Jai Radha Madhava Kirtan for a few minutes and then let's continue with our session today. So, let me share the screen with all of you and you can please chant along with me. That will be really very nice. So, let me share the screen. All right. So, should be visible to all of you. Please kindly join your palms, you can clap, and then you can sing nicely. So that will be really nice. So it's a very simple song. So please chant along with me. There might be some errors in the display because of the font, but please ignore them and you can listen carefully and you can please sing along. Sangeet Mahayagna ki
Jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
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 Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Guru Deva Srila Prabhupada Guru Deva Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Guru Deva Srila Prabhupada Guru Deva Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada
Mantra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna, welcome back once again. So we can all begin our session today with the Pranam Mantras, and I really welcome all of you for this Bhagavad Gita study circle. And today we are in session number 53. So we have traversed a long way, and let's dedicate the session to my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So all of you kindly join your palms and you can chant along with me the Pranam Mantras. It is there displayed on the screen. So kindly fold your hands and then please chant along with me. Namo Om Vishnupadaya
Namo Vishnupadaya
Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale
Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhaktivedanta
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Swamin Niti Namine
Swamin Nitinamine
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Gauravani Pracharine
Gauravani Prasharine
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Pashyat Deshatarine
Pashyat Deshatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Namo Mahavadanyaya
Namo Mahavadanyaya
Krishna Prema Pradayate
Krishna Prema Pradayate
Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya
Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya
Namne Gauratvishe Namaha
Name Gauradvishe Namaha
Namo Brahmanya Devaya
Namo Brahmanya Devaya
Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha
Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha
Jagadhitaya Krishnaya
Jagatitaya Krishnaya
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Govindaya Namo Namaha
He Krishna Karuna Sindho
He Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Dinabandho Jagatpate
Dinabandho Jagatpate
Gopesha Gopika Kanta
Gopesha Gopika Kanta
Radha Kanta Namostute
Radha Kanta Namostute
Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Rishabhanu Sute Devi
Vrishabhanu Sute Devi
Pranamami Hari Priye
Pranamami Hari Priye
Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha
Kripa Sindhu Bhavya cha
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण
कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे.
राम राम हरे हरे.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Hare Krishna, everyone. So let's have a quick recap of what we covered in the last session. So before that, I would like to welcome Ina Mataji, Uma Kumar, and we also have Dev. So welcome all of you for the Bhagavad Gita Study Circle session number 53. So in the previous session, Krishna explained that how he is aloof from the papa and punya of an individual. He never interferes with the papa and punya. He never disturbs those things. So each one of us have to enjoy or suffer our own papa and punya. We also understood that how there are two types of knowledges, which is the paroksha jnana and aparoksha jnana. Aparoksha jnana is the transcendental knowledge, and paroksha vritti jnana is the knowledge that we are all getting right now. But in order to get that paroksha jnana, aparoksha jnana, which is also called as swarupa jnana, that is the knowledge of the self, we are blocked by ajnana. So we need to smash the layer of ajnana, right? So only when we break that shell of ajnana, we can experience, we can exhibit our swarupa jnana, the knowledge from the self, right? That is self-realization. And then we also understood that how when a person is able to do that and acquire that swarupa jnana, at that state, in that state of self-realization, he becomes a panditaha. So we defined, or rather we should say that Krishna has defined very beautifully who is a panditaha. Panditaha means one who sees every living entity on an equal vision. He is a samadarshi. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Shupake cha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. So what does that mean? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. We understood that anybody who is truly educated, one who is truly educated, his first qualification is humility. His Sampannaha. He never becomes proud of his knowledge. The result of acquiring knowledge is we should bow down with humility. If a person is not humble, there is no vinaya, there is no sampanna, then it is not education. Today's modern education is not making people vinaya and sampannaha. It is rather making people very much proud, right? So that is not education. True education means we all have to become humble. We should develop the quality of humility. And samadarshi means on that platform of self-realization, a pandita actually sees an ant, an elephant, a dog eater, chandala, everybody on an equal vision in the sense that everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. On the material level, there is no equality. But on the material level, we can give due respect to each and every living entity. I told you also very clearly that how a dog cannot be worshipped on the altar, but a dog can be given some piece of bread to eat. And sometime in our Indian culture, we give some sugar to them and they get that is due respect. So we can give due respect to each one of them, but equality is only on the spiritual platform. And a Panditaha actually has this spiritual vision. So this is what we have understood in the previous session, right? Because it's very important for all of us to now at least practice seeing each and every living entity on an equal platform. It's very difficult, extremely difficult, because sometimes when you're doing day-to-day activities, you invariably you go and actually kill some living entities. Many times, just after speaking this session, this particular verse last Sunday, morning when I was just boiling a little water, I saw so many ants, and I saw them actually, they got burned, and I was feeling so sad. But it is so difficult, to avoid them, because there are so many ants, and I have to do certain things, and it was unavoidable, and they actually got killed. So I was feeling very bad about it. And you see, still there is a reaction for. So I thought, okay, I'm not still a Pandita. So it's difficult. It's extremely difficult. Just this week, this happened after speaking this particular verse. So it was a reinforcement for me that how there is a long way to traverse when it comes to applying Bhagavad Gita in our life. So it's difficult, but not impossible. So we should pray that and seek the help of Krishna and the spiritual master, that as much as possible, please give us the strength that we can implement these instructions of the Bhagavad Gita in our life. So you see, earlier when the sages, they used to go to the forest, there were so many living entities, even wild animals, right? So, and in the forest, they used to do so much of meditation, tapasya, and there used to be insects, there used to be scorpions, there used to be deadly snakes, and there used to be so many beautiful other animals making so much noise, sometimes music, very pleasant to the ears, but they never got distracted. Because the sages within, they always thought that, okay, all this external noise is there. If the Paramatma within my heart can make me sit silent here in this jungle, so the same Paramatma which is there in their hearts will also make them silent and help me in my meditation. That used to be the vision of the sages. So this is how one becomes Panditaha. We are still not on that level of becoming Panditaha. So, but we should definitely strive, and we should see that all these beautiful instructions of the Bhagavad Gita are implemented, right? So let us understand what Krishna is going to explain in the next verse. So in the next verse, that is the 19th verse, Krishna is going to say that once you become a Samadarshi, a Panditaha, then what will happen? What will you actually achieve? So let's understand that in the next verse. So Achyutanji, you can unmute yourself and let's chant this particular verse, that is 19th verse. So a very interesting verse. So please unmute yourself and
yes, Guru. Yes.
Ihaivattairjita sargo
Ihavattai jita sargo
Esham same sthitam manaha
Esham sage stitham manaha
Nirdosham hi samam brahma
Nirdosham hi samam brahma
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Tasmat brahmati te stitaha.
Let's do this once again. Ihaivattairjita sargo
Ihavattai jita sargo
Esham same sthitam manaha
Esham sage stitham manaha
Nirdosham hi samam brahma
Nirdosham hi samam brahma
Tasmad brahmani te stitaha.
Tasmat brahmani te stitaha.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Please read the translation, by the way, by yourself.
Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, again, a very beautiful verse. So here Krishna is saying that once you become a Panditaha, you become a Samadarshi, seeing everybody on the equal platform, the spiritual platform, then what will happen is tasmat brahmani te stitaha. You actually become situated in Brahman. I have explained before that how God realization is at three levels. There is Brahman realization, there is Paramatma realization, and there is the supreme most, that is Bhagavan realization. So, if you carefully see, the most of the Mayavadis, those who are atheistic in the sense, those who are monist means they believe that everything is Brahman. So, Mayavadis, they want to develop this equal vision. And by developing that equal vision, they want to attain this state of Brahman. So they also want to become Brahman. But our Vaishnava philosophy is completely different. We want to see everything in connection with Krishna. So that is Brahman realization for us. So now let's understand. So Krishna is saying that anybody who has equal vision, develops this equal vision, he is the one who can attain this Brahmanistitaha. He becomes situated in the Brahman. When will he become Brahman realized? Krishna is saying, Ihaiva. Ihaiva tairjitas sargo. He's saying, Ihaiva means in this very lifetime, you can actually become Brahman realized. So much of hope Krishna is giving. Although right now we are imperfecting and executing the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is still giving us the hope that we can all become Brahman realized. Ihaiva. He's saying that in this very lifetime, you don't have to wait for next lifetime or multiple lifetimes to become Brahman realized. How? By becoming a Panditaha. Ihaivai tairjitas sargoho. Sargaha means samsara. One of the meaning of sarga means samsara. Another meaning of sarga means also becoming free from birth and death. So what happens is when you become self-realized and you have develop this equal vision, then you can actually get rid of the sarga. Sarga means you become free from this samsara. What is samsara? In simple words, samsara means becoming free from the cycle of birth and death. This is samsara. So if you can somehow escape this cycle of birth and death, then ihaiva, in this very lifetime, it is possible. You just see so much Krishna is giving us a lot of hope here. But how that is possible? Krishna is saying, nirdosham hi samam brahma. So, equanimity, and you should not see they are flawless like the Brahman. So, nirdosham, we all have to become nirdosham. Dosha means what? Dosha means flaw. Each one of us have certain doshas within us, right? There is lot of dosha. You go to Ayurveda, then they will say that you have kapha dosha, you have pitta dosha, you have vata dosha, So all of us have this doshas at a physical level. But there are also at the mental level, at the consciousness level, there are doshas. So we have to become nirdoshaha. We have to become flawless. Now there are a lot of flaws within us, right? So what happens is, please understand, when in any relationship, let us understand this with an example. There is a relationship and the relationship is very, very good and the bonding is very good when you don't see dosha within another person. You see, anytime when there is a new relationship that is getting formed, generally we don't look at the doshas of other person, right? Especially when a young boy and a girl, they're getting attracted to each other, they want to avoid seeing all the doshas of other person. He's the perfect king, he's a perfect queen, princess and the princesses, all perfect. The Mr. and Mrs. Perfect, you look like that. And you also want to project yourself as Mr. and Mrs. Perfect, right? Flawless. And the person also doesn't want to see any flaws within you. So when you don't see any flaws within people, then what happens is it brings people close. People get close to each other when they don't see flaws within each other. But when the flaws start surfacing out, then what happens? Those flaws will distance people. Familiarity breeds contempt. Initially it's very nice. But as the honeymoon period gets over, then you start seeing the flaws within the people. Then what happens is they start getting apart. The distancing will increase, right? So this is what happens in the relationship. So why? Because we are seeing the dosha. The more the dosha you see in other person, that much distancing will happen. We become apart. So now, similarly, we should understand that when we don't see any flaws in the Lord, in Krishna, we become closer to Him. So right now, the exact opposite is happening. Why are we away from Krishna? Why? It's because we are seeing flaws in the Lord. Oh, how is that, Prabhu? Yes, you see, there are so many people, they are constantly finding flaws in the Lord. That is true. You see, there are many people who say that, oh, see this Rama, he crossed the ocean, he went to the Lanka, he fought with Ravana, such a big, terrible fight that happened, a big battle and war, and so many people were killed. And then finally he bought Sita, and then for a very petty reason, he asked her to go. He banished her to the forest. What is the use of such Rama? People talk like this. So they find fault with the Lord. And Krishna, though, if they can find fault with Rama, who is such a perfect person, supreme personality of Godhead, he is the Dharma personified. Rama, in one sense, even from the moral point of view, he always stands quite tall. Now, Krishna, though, do you think they'll leave? When they cannot leave Rama, he will say, oh, Krishna, he is such a big thief. Always stealing. Sometimes he's stealing butter, sometimes he's stealing the clothes of the gopis. He's always stealing the hearts of the people. Always he's a big stealer, right? So Krishna, though, so many names they'll keep, always finding faults, right? Then people talk about Narsimha also. Oh, Narsimha, that God, he's so angry all the time. Looks so angry. So what's happening here is we constantly find faults with the Lord. So when we start seeing these faults in the Lord, then we actually are getting away from the Lord. Our relationship with Lord is distancing, right? So right now, the reason why we are away from the Lord is this, because we are actually seeing some dosha within the Lord. Just imagine if somebody is talking something wrong about you behind your back, will you again go and talk to that person in the same way? In fact, you want to avoid that person. You don't want to talk to that person because you got to know that he's talking something behind your back, right? Now imagine you are talking about God, who is all pervading. He knows everything, that what you're speaking and even what you're thinking, and we are constantly finding faults with him within our mind and by words. Then do you think that he will be interested in us? He will also become udasina. He will say, okay, you will be taken care by your own karma. I will not interfere in your life. Lord Krishna, he is actually equal to everyone. But for his special devotees, he is more concerned. He has a special favor for his own devotees. Why? Because they're constantly glorifying him. So we are not happy with the people who backbite us. Then what Krishna will think? Krishna will say, okay, I will also not care for you. Although he does, but he will not personally get involved in our sukha and dukkha, because you want to distance me, you want to keep me away from me, right? So this is what we should understand. If nirdosham hi samam brahma, we're constantly finding faults with the people, with the Lord. Actually, finding fault in others is also a fault. It's a fault in itself. There is a session I had done on this. Finding fault is another fault. We should never find faults in people. We should not try to do that. There's a very nice story. Once there was a very great tapasvi. He did a lot of tapasya. And after doing so much of tapasya, he actually went to Lord Brahma and he asked for a boon. So Brahma asked, yes, what do you want? And this tapasvi said, my Lord, please ensure that I should always be happy and people should always talk good about me. They should glorify me. I should always be pleasant to others and nobody should think anything wrong about me. So this is my boon that I'm asking. So Brahma said, all right, Tatatsu. So what he said, Brahma, he gave him two potlis, potlis, those bags, small bags. So Brahma said, you see, there are these two potlis, these are these two bags. So one bag consists of all the flaws, all the faults of others, and there is one of them, that one potli, other one, is having all your faults. So these are two potlis, and ensure that these two potlis do not get with each other. You have to keep your potli of faults in front always while you're going out, and the potli of all the people's fault should be behind your back. So he agreed. And then if you are able to somehow keep these two potlis in their appropriate position, the potli of your faults in the front and the potli of others' faults at the back, if you are able to do this, then you will be the most happiest person. You will be always very pleasant to others. So, he was very happy, and he was carrying these potlis all the time, and everyone was very happy. But you see, to err is human. So once it so happened that this tapasvi, in urgency, it so happened that the potli of others' fault, he put it in his front, and all the potli of his own faults at the back. And when he started going out, everybody started criticizing him. They started talking ill about him, and he was confused. I mean, he was sick and tired, and he was hearing all those negative comments from the people. He never expected this, and anywhere he's going, people are actually doing his ninda, constantly criticizing him. And it came to the state where he thought, okay, let me just commit suicide. But before doing that, he thought, okay, let me go to Brahma and ask, why is this happening? And then when he went to Brahma, he told Brahma that this is what is happening to me. All people are criticizing me. And then Brahma said, it's because of your fault. I had told you very clearly that the bag, the potli of your fault should be in the front. And now you have actually kept the potli of others' faults in front of you. And this is the reason why so much of problems problems that are coming to you. So, my dear devotees, the message here is, what I'm trying to convey is, when you are constantly keeping the faults of others in your conversations while talking to people, then what you will get in return is only criticism. What you will get is only negative comments. So instead, we should always keep our faults in the front. You should always ensure that, okay, we should not point out at, others. They see that also, that when you point one finger to others, there are other fingers which are pointing towards you. So never find fault with others. Instead, a humble person, because that is what Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, a humble person, he never finds fault with others. Instead, he finds fault with oneself. So this should be the quality. Because the more you try to find faults with others, you will actually become troublesome to others. And it's also law of attraction. This is one very good principle that we should all learn. In fact, all of you should be aware of this, that many great devotees have also told, I've heard this from devotees, saying that when you actually appreciate the good qualities in others, some proportion of that good quality also comes into your life. So when you appreciate somebody's good qualities, that good quality will also come into you. Similarly, if you are constantly finding faults with others, that bad quality will also come into you. So this is law of attraction. This is the secret. So many people talk about law of attraction these days, right? So this is law of attraction. If you are actually wanting to be a good person, then just stop finding faults with others. That is exactly nirdosham hi samam brahma. So this is what is called as nirdosham hi samam brahma. How do we become nirdoshaha? So now the question may come, Prabhuji, now this fault finding flaw is within us. Because finding fault there is a flaw. This is the flaw that we all have. So how do I get rid of this? You just use this principle of law of attraction. What we should do is, when you know that there is a specific bad quality in you, unwanted quality in you, like lust, greed, anger, envy, all these are unwanted qualities. We are aware of this. So when you think that, yes, this is a bad quality and I should not have them, then what is the best way to get rid of it? Is actually, you should think that the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is free from lust. He is free from greed. He is free from envy. When you think that the Lord is flawless, then we will automatically become, slowly, by the mercy of God, flawless. So this is the secret. When you start thinking that Krishna is flawless, the Supreme Lord is flawless, then we also become flawless. And Krishna ensures that, yes, you become flawless because you are seeing no faults with the Lord. When you are constantly having that faith that, yes, the Supreme Lord, whatever he does, apparently it may look wrong. Many times in the Mahabharata, you see that Krishna is telling someone to tell a lie. He tells lies, and many things he does. But whatever Krishna does is actually dharma. Whatever he does is for the ultimate good. So when you have this faith, a very strong faith that the Supreme Lord is nirdoshaha, then we also become nirdoshaha. So please understand, this is the secret. So instead of trying to fight with all these individual anarthas within us, lust, greed, anger, envy, if you can simply think that, yes, whenever you go to the temple next time, just think that, yes, this Lord I am seeing, he is flawless. He has no flaws within him. He is completely faultless. When you think like that, when you have darshan of the Lord and when you think like that about Krishna, then those qualities will come into you. You will gradually become flawless. The more you think, the more quickly you become flawless. So you see, this is a very beautiful secret that we should all understand. And Krishna that is why telling us that nirdosham hi samam brahma. And he's saying that jitas sargaha ihaiva tair jitas sargaha. You will escape this cycle of birth and death in this very lifetime. What an amazing thing. How can you escape from this cycle of birth and death? Simple, law of attraction. This principle of law of attraction, what do you think? You should think that Krishna is Aja. Krishna has no birth and death. When you think that Krishna has no birth and death, then what will he do? He will tell, okay, this devotee is thinking that I am Aja. So I will make him also Aja. Aja means unborn. Janma, Ajanma. You see? So what is the secret of becoming free from the cycle of death is, cycle of birth and death is, you should simply think that Krishna is not born. This dosha of birth is not there within Krishna. When you tell this, that yes, this birth and death dosha does not affect Krishna, there is no such flaw of birth and death in Krishna, then that will help us to become free from birth and death. See? Simple. Law of attraction. So anytime you feel that there is a certain dosha within you, you can also list out all the different doshas that you have. This week, the activity for all of you, a homework for all of you is, you should think and analyze what are the different doshas that you have. And then start thinking about them seriously and tell that and start praying to the Lord, my Lord, you do not have this dosha. Please give me the strength. Please purify me of this dosha also. You see, this should be our prayer to Krishna. Because, my Lord, you don't have this dosha, make me also free from this dosha. Right? So, this is a very interesting thing, a very wonderful secret that we should all be aware of. Right? So, isn't this helpful now?
Yes, Prabhuji, very helpful.
Yes, Prabhuji, really very helpful, Prabhuji. Really, Prabhuji. In personal
Thank
life
you.
as well as professional life also, Guruji. Guruji, shall I ask one question, Guruji, now itself?
Okay, Uma Kumar, I see that your eagerness. So please go ahead and ask.
Guruji, according to this one, we should not find any fault for others. But in work culture, it is difficult to, without finding fault or any work, our employees is not doing properly, means we need to find the fault and we need to say, this is the thing you are doing. Otherwise, they will keep on doing same mistake. Otherwise, they will think in the sense of they will take for granted again and again. They are going to do the same mistake. That's why
Correct.
sometimes I have to find the faults and I have to inform. See, this is the thing what
Correct.
is happening, Guruji. How can we
Exactly.
do, Guruji?
It's a very good question and important question. Now, you see, even the spiritual master, a guru, is supposed to find faults in his disciples. A teacher is supposed to find faults in the disciple. It's extremely important. Why? Because if he doesn't find the faults with the disciple, then the disciples may go into a wrong direction. So, as a professional, you are supposed to find faults at a vyavharik level as a matter of duty. Now, there is no personal grudge. Oh, I want to find fault because he is doing very well. There is no envy there. You are doing it as a matter of duty because all of you have come together as a team for the ultimate good of the project. You all want to achieve a certain goal. So, to attain that goal, you all have to have a same mindset. And if somebody is actually going off track, then it is your duty to find fault and then bring that person back to track, isn't it? So that is very much required.
Yes,
So
Guruji.
that fault finding is actually at a vyavharik level, but not at a personal level. Many times we should all do this. Even parents have to find faults when they are doing something wrong. The children are doing wrong. The parents are supposed to correct. That is not finding faults. It is actually the duty of the parents to ensure that their children are going on a right track, isn't it? So, at a Vyavharik level, you should definitely deal and you should find faults in the sense that it is good for the project. But personally, you have no grudge over that person. So, you are not personally concerned with what is happening. You're not envious. You're not trying to, by finding faults, your intention is what matters. When you find faults in a professional environment, your intention is not to denigrate that person. You don't want to pull down that person. You are only concerned about the project. You are only concerned about the benefit of the project. So you are not personally targeting that person for your own personal interest. So when you do that, then there is absolutely no problem, and it is your duty, and it is not fault finding.
Okay, Guruji.
So your
Thank you, sir.
intention matters. So I hope that answers your question, Uma Kumar.
Yes, Guruji. Yes, Guruji.
Good. So you see, this is how we should understand. It's very simple process, and if we can carefully understand these principles nicely, we can lead a very peaceful life. Not just we, in fact, anybody with us will also be very happy because this is how we can deal with people. Fault finding is another fault. I had done a session on this. It's also there on the Secrets of Success podcast, which is available on Apple Podcast. It's available on the Castbox, and it's also available on Anchor FM, in Podbean and all the podcast platforms. You can just check it out and you will find them. So you can listen to that. There is a very dedicated session on finding faults is another fault. Okay. So with this, let's go to the next verse. And Dave, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the next verse, that is 20th
Yes,
verse.
Prabhu.
This is also a very interesting verse Krishna is saying here. Na prarashet priyam prapya
न प्रयश्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य
nodvijet prapya cha priyam
नोर्विजेत् प्राप्य चाप्रियम्
stira buddhir rasamudho
स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्बुद्धो
brahmavid brahmani stitah.
ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः
Let's do this once again. Na praharashet priyam prapya
न प्रयश्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य
nodvijet prapya cha priyam
नोर्विजेत् प्राप्य चाप्रियम्
stira buddhir rasamudho
स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्मूढो
Brahmavid Brahmani Stitaha.
Brahmavid Brahmani Sthitah.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is to be understood as already situated in transcendence. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, Krishna is actually now explaining that how this is also the next two, three words is Krishna's prescription as well as an advice for all of us to follow. So it's very interesting that Krishna is saying that how actually a person who is neither rejoicing when he achieves something very pleasant. So many times when we become successful in our life, there are many pleasant things that we acquire. The moment you get that pleasant thing, we rejoice. We become elated by the success. And sometimes when we are actually getting some unpleasant things, experiences in our life, which are very unpleasant, then we also become very morose and we become disturbed. But a person who is having a equipoised nature, who never actually gets elated nor disturbed by these pleasant and unpleasant things in his life, then he understands the science of God. Krishna is saying he's the one with that stable nature, he can actually understand the real nature of God. So important, you see. Krishna had explained this previously also. Matras parshastu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkha daha, agama paino nityas tam titikshasva bharata. Tam titikshasvaha. You become titikshasvaha. You become tolerant of all these pleasant and unpleasant things. So tolerance doesn't mean you have to tolerate only the unpleasant things. Many times people, they kind of think that tolerate means you should tolerate only unpleasant things. Oh, bahut bura ho raha hai mere sath, let me tolerate the bad things in my life. No. You have to tolerate even the good things, lot of pleasant things, because we should not get elated. Basically, any extreme emotion should be avoided. Many times people take extreme steps and they make extreme choices because of extreme emotions. This choice of going and committing suicide is why? Because of extreme emotions. So disturbed they want to go and commit suicide. And many times, a lot of pleasant things happen in an extreme joyfulness and extreme happiness, so-called material happiness. Many times you also commit wrong decisions, you take wrong decisions and you may lose. I was seeing this one funny video that how you must also have seen that we should not celebrate our victory before we actually become victorious. I saw that video met how many sports people, many Olympic sport people, when they're running a marathon and they're almost very close to the dead end, they're about to win the end line, and they think that, oh yes, now I'm won, and they slow down, and immediately there is someone from behind and they win the game. So they are very close to victory, but because of that extreme joy, that, oh yes, now I'm elated, and they think that I have won the game, and suddenly there is someone who comes and takes over. So you must have seen these videos many times. So this is what Krishna is telling. Don't go to these extreme things. Before you become victorious, you think that, oh, I'm now victorious. It's a big problem. You should never go to these things. So we should have a stable vision. So for that, we all should get exposed to extreme situations sometimes. For example, it is important for people, especially children who are born in aristocratic families, they have to be shown the life of poor people on the streets. They should actually go on the streets and see that how there are so many children who don't even get one morsel of food a single day. So when you go and see, when these children born in rich families, they go and see such people who are struggling to get a meal a day, they will understand, oh, their world is so difficult to live and they are getting so much to eat, and it's a great blessing that they all have been bestowed with. So these are important things. In fact, one of the devotee was also telling me that how in Australia, if you have to join army, they ask you, have you ever failed in your life? And if you tell them that no, I have not failed, I'm always very victorious and I'm always a first ranker, they reject you. Because in the army, they don't want you to take such people who are always victorious. They should have tasted some element of defeat. They should have tasted some element of that distress in the life. Because people who are constantly, always victorious and they have never seen the other side of the coin, then it's difficult. They can actually take extreme steps. So it is important for us to have a balanced vision. So we should also help our children to have this balanced vision right from the beginning. When especially they are getting so much of comforts, they should go on the streets and help people. We should make them serve the poor people. And I recently saw one video of Sudha Murthy ji also. She gave a very nice example of her own son, where she explains that how on his birthday, she actually, instead of throwing a big party in the five-star hotel, she actually made him to go to the poor people, and probably she helped someone to get educated. So you see, this is the way we should teach our children to understand the realities of life. So Bhagavad Gita is actually telling us that you should have an equal vision. You should develop this equal vision of both sukha and dukkha, pleasant and unpleasant things. You should never get disturbed. What is most important for the devotee is that I'm serving the Lord. Whether I'm in hell or heaven, I want to chant the holy name of the Lord. And this should be our prayer to the Lord. My Lord, no matter I'm whether in hell or heaven, I should be constantly chanting your holy names, because that is the only thing that a devotee should hold on. What should we actually hold on is that the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita and service to the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna. That is the only permanent thing. Sukha and dukkha, pleasant and unpleasant things, are temporary. My dear devotees, please understand, never get bewildered by these things, because both sukha and dukkha are temporary. In this world, you cannot have continuous sukha. You cannot have continuous dukkha. Sukha will come, dukkha will come. It's a constant wave. So don't get disturbed by these pains and pleasures. Never strive for all these things. It is unnecessary trouble for you. You just lead a simple life as per the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. That's it. But when we don't understand this vision of Krishna, what Krishna is trying to tell is, he actually wants us to experience the great joy that is there in this instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. This is a very practical book. This is a very practical book. People take this as only a philosophical book for some mental speculation or intellectual discussions. No, this is actually for our implementation in our life. Life is a big project. It's a game we are playing. So we should know how to play this game effectively so that we win this game of life. But for that, you should know the rules of the game. So the rules of the game is given in the Bhagavad Gita, and it should be implemented. Simply theoretical understanding will not help. It is so difficult, just the theoretical knowledge. We can become Panditaha by knowledge, but Pandita by realization, we are not. So that is a problem. So implementation of knowledge will make us Panditaha with realization. We will become rich with realizations. There was this one person, very learned person in a village, and very well versed in the Vedas, in the Puranas, and also well versed in all the different subjects like mathematics and physics, and quite qualified person, a very scholarly person. And he was also very proud. He was not actually sampannaha. He was not very vinaya. But because of his so much of education and knowledge, He was very proud. He was displaying his knowledge everywhere. So once he was having a meeting and he had to cross the river Ganga. So while he was crossing, there was this boatman, and the boatman was trying to help this person, and he said, "Can you please help me? Take me to the next other side of the river." And he said, "All right, please sit." And then he boarded the boat, and they were traveling. And this person, who was so educated, instead of sitting quiet, he wanted to show off his knowledge, and he asked the boatman, "Hey, do you know what is actually this law of gravitation?" Now, this person was, "No, sir, I am not so educated. I don't know anything about gravitation. I have no idea about all these things." Yeah, this person said, "You are a fool. You don't know the law of gravitation. Anything that you throw should come down. And that is the law of gravitation. Your life is waste." Then he said, "All right, nothing can be done now." So he just continued rowing the boat. And little Eddie again asked the question that, "Do you know the certain law of physics?" Then this person said, "No, I don't know, sir, how this is happening. I don't know." He asked this, how this boat is floating on the river. I don't know all these science. I just know that the boat is there and I'm nicely rowing the boat. This is my work. Now nobody has told me why it floats, how it floats. I don't have any idea. Your life is waste, this fellow says. This boatman continues a little bit. And then in the middle of the river, when they reach, that is when the big storm starts. Then there is wind and heavy rains, and the boat is tumbling left and right. This boatman is trying to somehow protect the boat, and he's unable to control. It is just going with the flow of water, and is unable to control. And then this boatman asks, "Sir, do you know swimming?" He says, "No, I don't know swimming." He said, "All your life is completely waste." So this fellow boatman, he jumped into the water, he swam across, and he saved his life. And this person who was so knowledgeable, he didn't even know how to swim. He drowned and he died. So what happens is, many times we may understand this theoretical knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, a lot of Pandita, a lot of slokas we quote, left, right, center. All these things are there in the knowledge, but it is not aparoksha jnana. It is only paroksha jnana, paroksha vritti jnana. That is good, but aparoksha jnana, the swayam, the swarupa jnana will come only when you implement the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. See? So please understand, don't become very lenient with yourselves. What I'm trying to say here is, don't become very complacent with your day-to-day activities. So anytime you're doing any activity every day, please try to see that activity through the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, because that will help us to have a balanced vision, because that will help us to deal with sukha and dukkha in a equipoised way. So don't get elated by too much of happiness, and don't get dejected by so-called distresses in life. It will come, it will go. Nothing is permanent. Sukha and dukkha is also not permanent. So only service to Krishna is permanent. Right? So if you can do that, then Brahmavid, Brahmani stitaha. Brahmavid, only that person with such a knowledge, he become Brahmani stitaha. You will attain that Brahmani stitaha, that spiritual nature. You will attain that spiritual nature. That is what Krishna is saying. All right, so let's go to the next verse number 21. So Hina Mataji, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the 21st verse. So another very interesting verse Krishna is going to share with all of us. So Mataji, hope this is visible to you.
Yes, Prabhu.
Verse number 21. Bahyasparsheshva sattatma
Bahya sparshe svatma
Vindati atmani yat sukam
Vindati Atmani Yat Sukham.
Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma
Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma
Sukham Akshayam Ashnute.
Sukham Akshayam Ashnute.
Once again, Bhayasparsheshva Saktatma
Bhaya Sasparsheshu Shaktatma
Vindatyatmani Yat Sukham
Vindatyatmani Tat Sukham.
Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma
Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma
Sukham Akshayam Ashnute.
Sukham Akshayam Ashnute.
Okay, please read the translation.
Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful, very nice. So, here Krishna is revealing another very important thing to us. So, what is he saying here? Bhahyasparsheshu asaktatma. Bhahyasparsheshu. Bhaya means external. So, Krishna is saying that whatever pains and pleasures that we are experiencing now is because of Bhahyasparsheshu. Now, why it is Bhahyasparsheshu, external? Because I am a spirit soul. And as a spirit soul, the external thing to the spirit soul is mind and intelligence and ego. And even external to that is the five senses, right? So for the soul, these material senses are external. So Bahyas Parsheshu. So right now our pains and pleasures are external because our pains and pleasures are related to the senses. You eat something tasty, I'm getting this pleasure. You hear some nice sound, you're getting some pleasure. You're getting some beautiful forms to see, that is the pleasure of vision, right? So what's happening is, this is all Bhayas Parsheshu. And we are developing asakti for this. Now, asakti, asaktaha. There is asaktaha and asaktihi. Asaktaha means detachment. Asakti means attachment. A little variation. Asaktaha means attachment. Asaktaha means detachment. So Krishna is actually telling us that asaktatma, you should become detached from bhayasparsheshu. You should not simply think about getting pains and pleasures only through these five senses. This is underutilization of your existence. So Krishna is telling we should not develop asakti for sense pleasure. What Krishna is saying here is Vindat Atmani Yat Sukham. There is Atmani Sukham. So we are not aware of this Atmani Sukham. What is Atmani? That internal Sukha. We are so absorbed in constantly enjoying our Bhayasparsha, and there are so many things which are promoting Bhayasparsha, right? Zomato, the Swiggy, and that movie, and this movie, the TV is coming in, that music, and this music, and so many of these radio channels, and all these things are actually keeping you absorbed in what? Bhayasparsha. They're telling you, yes, you can enjoy, you can enjoy. Enjoy where? At an external level. And we are so absorbed in this sukha that we have forgotten, or probably we are not even aware, that there is Atmani Sukha. So Krishna is telling that, you foolish fellow, instead of now becoming dependent on all these external objects for your happiness, there is abundant happiness right within you. Atmani Sukha. There is so much of joy within you. So don't become dependent on these external things. Because if you are becoming dependent on these external things and which are constantly flickering, they sometimes give you happiness, sometimes distress, you will experience pleasant and unpleasant things. So don't become absorbed in that. Instead, you focus on Atmani Sukha. And Krishna is more eager to give us, to see us that we experience this Atmani Sukham. He is more eager to show us the path through which we can experience Atmani Sukha. Because once you get the taste of Atmani Sukha, then all this Bhaya Sparsheshu Sukha will become Tucham. It becomes very, very invaluable. Because once you get something of a higher taste, joy of a higher taste, why will we simply dabble about these lower tastes? We will not dabble into all these lower tastes, right? So this is a secret that Krishna is sharing with all of us. You tell me one thing, all of you. When the fruit is unripe, it is more tastier, or when the fruit is ripe, it is tastier. Correct? Which is more tastier? A fruit which is unripe or which is ripe? Unripe? A kairi is more tasteful or a mango is more tasteful? Right? So you see, anything that is ripe, it gives us more sweet, it gives us more taste. Similarly, you tell me now one thing. You want to eat the banana which is with the peel or without the peel. Which is more tastier? A banana with the peel or without the peel? Without the peel. You know, only some animals like elephants and cows, they will eat with the peel. But we will get the taste only when the fruit is actually not having any peel, right? So, what Krishna is saying here, you don't get absorbed in the external Bahyasparsheshu. You try to experience that ripe internal pleasure, that spiritual pleasure, Atmani Sukham. But what are we so absorbed in right now? We want to always taste the unripe pleasures and pains of this world. That is where our mind is absorbed. Now, if somebody is very adamant, no, I want to eat the fruit which is unripe and which is unpeeled with the peels, then we cannot help that person. You know, to get that Atmani Sukha, we need to have patience. These people who are so absorbed in material sense pleasure, they will not wait for the fruit to get ripe. They want to instantly gratify and they eat that unripe fruit. But a person who is intelligent, he will patiently wait for the fruit to get ripened and then he will taste the tasty fruit. Right? So similarly, in this process of Atmani Sukha, which is not so instant to get, we need some patience. So this Bhagavad Gita, that spiritual knowledge that you want to, that spiritual taste that you want to get, you will get it, but please have some patience. Wait for your bhakti to ripe. Right now, our bhakti is unripe. So you cannot experience. So that is why we are dabbling with all these Bhagyasparsheshu Sukham. We are trying to enjoy the external pleasures. Right? So this is the problem. We don't have patience. Many people want instant gratification today. So that is the problem. So we should wait. So we should also become intelligent, not to go for these temporary things. Never go for these temporary things. Many people, you know, when they want to enjoy the external senses, Bhagyasparsheshu, they take a lot of risk. You know, they do bungee jumping, then they go mountaineering, then they have this wild sports, you know, they go into this, rowing the boats where there are this waterfalls and the boat is just getting carried away. All very risky games people play and they get some kind of adrenal rush and then they want to enjoy that kind of a thing. So just see, for Bhagyasparsheshu, people can take so much of risk. Can't we take a little bit of risk for Atmani Sukham? We should take. And what is the risk, by the way? Is there any risk here in reading Bhagavad Gita, chanting Hare Krishna, taking prasadam? There is no risk involved. Still, we are not taking. So, Atmani Sukham can come when we become aware that yes, there is wonderful happiness right within us. Don't have to look for happiness externally. So much important it is, you see. But now what people say is, Prabhuji, when I am getting all these wonderful pleasures right with me, which I have seen and experienced, why should I look for something which I have not experienced? Right? Why should I try to get something which I don't have? Why should I think about it? What I'm getting, I should enjoy, right? Many people say that. So they tell Prabhuji, you are telling us to give up that which we have, and you are trying to tell us that you should think about that which you have, we don't have. So why should I give up something that I already have? Many people don't want to give. I am getting nice food to eat every day. I am getting nice house, family, friends, relatives, everybody is there. My children, my wife, husband, everybody is there. I'm not telling that you should give up all those people, but I'm just saying if you can spiritualize this whole process. Many times these external pleasures, we don't want to give up because of attachment. But in this attachment of experiencing Bahya Sukha, we have forgotten that there is Atmani Sukha. Many times people think about or even think about some alternative Sukha only when they get nicely smashed here by Maya. You know, when they get nice beatings from Maya, no? Some bad times will come in everybody's life. That is when they think, Are, there is something beyond this sense pleasure also, or what? You know, that is when they think. That is also temporary and they forget after some time. So it's very difficult. To keep people focused on the path of spiritual life is extremely difficult because there are so many glamorous things outside, right? Which are keeping us trying to take away our attention. One web series is there, another web series will come, another this series will come, that series will come. And people are so absorbed. They just don't want you to think about Atmani Sukha. The TV is not allowing you to think about any, and they show the trending things also. Before you even think of any Atmani Sukha, they will show, this is trending. Why they show you trending? So that you again become absorbed. So what is happening is Bahya Sukha is trending these days. Atmani Sukha is not at all trending. It is not even showing up. So very, very bad situation. We are in a very precarious situation. Oh my God, very difficult. So what Prahlad Maharaj is saying is, in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says that anybody who is going behind this flickering joy, it is very difficult. He will fall into the ditch of material existence again. Right? So we should not fall into this ditch. We should not fall in this well. It's very difficult to come out of this well. So now how to get rid of this Bahya Sukha? This question may come, Prabhuji, yes, you are telling me not to get tempted by all this external Bahya Sukha. But how do we get rid of this Bahya Sukha now? That's the question, right? So Krishna is saying here, Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma. If you want to become free from this Bahya Sukha, sense pleasures, then Brahma Yoga. Brahma Yoga is not another type of yoga. Brahma Yoga means a process of yoga which connects you with God is Brahma Yoga. So Krishna is saying Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. So what are we doing now? Every Sunday when we are attending the sessions, we are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra every day, and we are taking prasadam every day. We are actually practicing Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. You are becoming a Yuktatma, Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. So this is an opportunity for us to not look at the Bahya Sparsha Sukham and instead look for Atmani Sukham. So this Atmani Sukham should increase more and more, more and more. So please get absorbed in thinking about Krishna, because mind needs engagement. If you tell that mind be silent, it will not sit silent. So instead of engaging the mind in some mundane web series, Instead, you can listen to Bhagavad Gita, watch nice spiritual videos, maybe the Prabhupada's live videos, Prabhupada's nice so many videos of Prabhupada are there. You watch them on YouTube, then what's happening is you are actually deriving Atmani Sukham gradually. But amazing it is. Once anybody experiences this Atmani Sukham, then it is also very addictive. You cannot give up. Once a person tastes this Atmani Sukham, it's very addictive. And Krishna wants us to become addicted to him. So sometimes for those sincere people, he will give that addiction. It's good addiction actually. Right? So this is what we have understood. So please do not get absorbed in the external sense pleasures. Always think about Atmani Sukham. Eat the ripe fruit. Don't go for unripe fruits. Okay? So with this, let's go to the next verse now. So Uma Kumar, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the next verse. That is verse number 22.
Yes, Guruji.
This is a very interesting shloka, and Prabhupada in many of his lectures, he often uses this verse. So please chant. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga
Yehi samsparshaja bhoga
dukkha yonaya evate
dukkha yonaya evate
adyantavantah kaunteya
adyantavantah kaunteya
nate shuramate buddha.
mate shoramate buddha.
Let's do that once again. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga
Yehi samsparshaja bhoga
dukkha yonaya evate
dukkha yonaya evate
adyantavantah kaunteya
adyantavantah
Kaunteya
nate shuramate buddha.
nate shoramate
Buddha.
buddha.
Wonderful. Please read the translation by yourself.
An intelligent person does not take part in the source of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Hare Krishna Guruji.
Thank you so much. Very nice. So, what Krishna is saying here is, please do not get bewildered by these temporary pleasures. Again, see what Krishna is saying here. This yehi samsparshaja bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. So samsparshaja bhoga. So this enjoyment that we are getting right now is coming by what? Samsparshaja. It is coming when the sense object is coming in contact with the senses. So when a gulab jamun falls onto the tongue, that is giving some sort of enjoyment. Samsparshaja bhoga. So when a sense and a sense objects come in contact, then there is pleasure, that bhoga, enjoyment is there. Krishna is saying such samsparshaja bhoga is what? Is of the nature adyantavantaha kaunteya. It has an adi, it has an antavantaha. So there is a beginning and there is an end for such pleasures. See, this is very interesting principle. I had explained this before once. Any material pleasure you take, it has a beginning and it has an end. In management also, there is some law of diminishing returns. There is something called as law of diminishing returns. What it means that there is a lot of happiness in the initial state, and as the time progresses, it starts dwindling. You take any material pleasure, happiness, it gives a lot of pleasure in the beginning, and it dwindles. This example of gulab jamun I have given you many times. You eat one gulab jamun, so much pleasure. You eat two gulab jamuns, even more pleasure. You eat three, even more pleasure. But when you eat the fourth, slowly the taste will come down. You eat the fifth gulab jamun, the taste will come down even more. You eat the sixth, it will come even more down. You eat the seventh gulab jamun, you will say, no, I will not eat gulab jamun for the next 2 months. What happened? Law of diminishing returns. There is an Adi, there is an Anta. So, why are we running behind this pleasure, sparsha bhoga, which has an end, which has a beginning? So, such pleasure is not what we are looking. What are we? Atmani Sukham. We are Atma, and Atma is eternal. So, why are we looking and running behind this samsparshaja bhoga? Question yourself. Is it the right thing to do to run behind this adyantavanta sukham? This temporary happiness. This temporary happiness is actually putting us back into the well. Like I told you, it will push us into this ditch. You know, very nice example is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, man is running in the forest because there is a tiger chasing him. Constantly, very fast is running because the tiger is behind him. And he is running, and suddenly he falls into the ditch. And while he's falling into the ditch, suddenly he holds some rope, and then he's somehow hanging on to that. Now he looks down, there are a lot of snakes there, poisonous snakes. He cannot go down. And he goes up and looks on the top, then there is the tiger which is waiting to devour him. Right? So, terrible situation is there. A very difficult situation. And then in that terrible situation where he cannot go on the top, he cannot go bottom there, and there are these one black rat and white rat which is constantly cutting their, biting the rope. See, such a difficult situation. Anytime the rope can cut and he can fall into the ditch and he can die. This is the situation. Now, the tiger is actually the death, representing death, which is running behind us all the time, right? We are thinking, oh, I'm now free from this disease, that disease, no death is coming. I'm feeling that right now, that I'm not going to die. This is the nature of the world. The most mysterious thing, the most amazing thing in this world is everybody is thinking that I'm not going to die. Right now, because of Corona, we are able to see so many deaths happening all across. So many people are dying in front of us, but still one is thinking, I'm not going to die. I will live forever. This is what, Yudhishthira was asked by the Yaksha Prashna. Yudhishthira was asked, what is the most amazing thing in this world? And what Yudhishthira said, ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti yamalayam seshas tavaramichanti. He said that how ahani ahani bhutani, that everybody is seeing that other person is dying in front of him, but he is thinking that I am not going to die. Sheshas tavaramichanti. Gacchanti Yamalayam. Everybody is going to Himalaya. They are saying that everybody is going to Yamaloka, but I am not going to Yamaloka. This is the most amazing thing. So, why I am saying is, when this person is holding on to the rope, the white and black rat represent the day and night. So, days and nights are continuously biting our lifespan, and they're taking away our lifespan. And this person who is holding on to this rope called life, somehow in this most precarious condition in the ditch, on the top of the well, there is a tree and there is a honeycomb. And from that honeycomb, there are drops of honey falling, and this person holding on to that most deadly rope, he's trying to lick, he's trying to catch hold of that honey in his tongue. Can you imagine? So what are we doing here is, this samsparshaja bhoga is nothing but this. That little pleasure that we are hankering is nothing but that little honey falling from that tree, For that little honey, we are thinking that, okay, we forget that tiger, we forget that deadly snake. And little honey will keep us happy here. And the rats are constantly biting away our lifespan. How foolish are we? Isn't it foolish if we see that such a person enjoying that honey in the well, do you think that is a very intelligent person? But that is exactly what we are doing. We have already fallen into this material ditch, and that little honey we are trying to experience. We are so busy catching hold of that honey here and there. Oh, some sparsha hoga, which has an starting, which has an end. Right? Such a difficult situation. I had also given a very beautiful example earlier about the patanga, matanga, bhuranga, bringa, right? How this patanga, these moths, they get attracted by the fire. They think that, oh yes, there is so much of light. There is uncontrollable sense. For the patanga is the sense of vision. You see, they get attracted by light so much that they get into the fire and they die. You see, many times during rainy season, the moths will come. They're constantly flickering towards the street lamp. And morning, you see all the dead below. And the elephant, how do they catch the wild elephant? He's running behind. He's very difficult, very powerful. But the elephant can be controlled by a she elephant. The she elephant will nicely seduce this male elephant and put him into the ditch. And that is how they catch him. Why? He has uncontrollable sense of touch. Then there is this meena. Meena means fish. The fish, to catch the fish, we put the bait. The fish has uncontrollable tongue. Because of the uncontrollable sense of taste, the fish thinks, oh, so much nice food is there. He doesn't see the gull, the bait, and he gets caught and he dies. The deer is very difficult to catch. Even if you want to shoot an arrow or you want to shoot it with a gun, it's very difficult because it's so flickering. The very chanchala, the deer is constantly running, is very fast. But the same deer, the hunter can play a nice flute, very nice music. The deer will easily come to you and he will get caught by the hunter. Bringa means this, the bumblebee. This bumblebee, he has uncontrolled a sense of, a smell. He gets so bewildered by the fragrance of the flowers that he sits inside the flower and the flower will close and he will die inside the flower. Bringa. Just imagine these living entities, because of one uncontrolled sense, they die. And we human beings, we have all the five senses uncontrolled. Such a difficult situation that we are in. And we still want to have some sparshaja bhoga. Are you really looking for some sparshaja bhoga now? Some sparshaja bhoga, this material sense pleasure, first of all, it is not easily attainable. People work day and night for sense pleasures. They are working so hard, like hogs, cats and dogs, so difficult to get sense pleasure. They want to buy one TV, people work so hard. They want to get little clothes, they work so hard. People are working hard for sense pleasure, not easily attainable. And many times when it is attained, it is not very palatable. Oh, what is this? This mobile is not good. I should have got something else. This is not so tasty. It is not very palatable after attaining it. And after attaining it, it's not palatable. It is also not sustainable. You cannot sustain all the time the sense objects that you have acquired. See? Then what is the point? It has an adi, it has an anta. And we are running behind this kind of samsparshaja bhoga. We should not. Any intelligent, any sane person should not run behind this samsparshaja bhoga. See, please understand. We are going mad behind this sense pleasure. This sense pleasure is like a sandwich. You have seen sandwiches. There is a big loaf. Imagine a sandwich which has a big thick loaf on the top and at the bottom. And in between, there is that, that fried tasty item. That thick bread of loaf on the bottom and the top, and little bit of that vada or whatever you have, that tasty things on the between. Now you want to taste that, but to taste that, you have to cross through the big loaf of bread, and then you get that little pleasure of some tasty thing. And then after tasting that, what is the next? Again, a big loaf again. So this is what is happening in our life also. Our life, whatever little happiness we get, is like a sandwich happiness we get. What is the big loaf on the top? It is hankering. And what is the loaf below and the bottom? That is lamentation. We are constantly hankering for that little pleasure, and once we get, we will lose that taste and we will hanker constantly. So this is what is happening. Do you want a happiness like a sandwich? For that little layer of pleasure and that little taste, people are working hard day and night. So foolish we are. And all we are getting is only that tasteless bread on top, most of the time. So this is not good idea. So Krishna is saying here, he's saying that dukkha yonaya evate. Yonaya means womb. So what Krishna is saying, that this samsparshaja bhoga, this sense pleasure, is pregnant with dukkha. He's saying that dukkha yonaya evate. Anytime when we get into any sort of sense pleasure, it is pregnant with dukkha. Today or tomorrow, in due course of time, that dukkha will come. If anybody is overeating, oh, I want to enjoy. He likes the taste of certain thing and he overeats, what happens? Dukkha yonaya evate. They are only getting pregnant with dukkha. And this samsparshaja bhoga, this pregnancy is such that there is no abortion. Please understand. Anytime where we hear about abortion, but anytime you get involved in samsparshaja bhoga, we all are getting pregnant with dukkha. It will come. You cannot abort it. There is no question of aborting this dukkha. It will come and hit us one day. It will be delivered to us in due course of time. Such a powerful thing. So Krishna is very clearly stating, sense pleasure will lead to dukkha. If you don't want dukkha in your life, then please avoid samsparshaja bhoga. Anytime you take example of any material sense pleasures, it will end into dukkha. This is the science. This is Krishna's instruction. He's clearly stating this to us. So, what are we looking for is, we should look for nateshu ramate buddhaha. So, a person who is really intelligent, who is a devotee, he is always looking for akshaya sukhaha. He is not looking for temporary happiness. He is looking for akshaya sukha. Akshaya sukha means unlimited happiness. How? Nateshu ramate buddhaha. Ramate, very nice. Prabhupada is using this quote. He had used this previously also. Very nice shloka from the Padma Purana. He says, Ramante yogino nante satyananda chidatmani iti rama padena shau param brahma vidhayate. See? So, ramante yogino nante. A devotee is Ramana. Ramana means pleasure. He seeks happiness. A devotee, Ramante, Yogino Nante. Where is this yogis actually doing Ramana? They are actually Satyananda Chidatmani in Atma Sukha. The great devotees and yogis, they take pleasures only in the Atma Sukha, in spiritual pleasure. They are not interested in samsparshaja bhoga. Never get interested in this temporary happiness which we derive from the sense pleasures. So important. All these things are so important. So it is very clear, if you are somehow engaging in sense pleasure, it will lead to dukkha. Dukkha yonaya evate. So let us not get pregnant with this samsparshaja bhoga. because it will make us distressed in the future. So very nice, Krishna has explained, and we have gone overboard today. And still, if there are any questions, you can please feel free to ask. So we have covered four verses today. So please contemplate on all these things. These are extremely important, and Krishna has very clearly understood that in these 4 verses we have covered that do not okay, I think before even I say and recap, I think it's better that I ask, what is the takeaway point that you all have? What is your takeaway point from today's session? You feel free to mention that. So you have heard so many things today. What is that one thing that you want to take away from today's session? Yes. Anybody would like to go first? You can please go ahead and say. Online or offline? Anybody? So Girishma is saying here, what is that you want to say?
From today onwards, I will be willing to keep my faults ahead of me and others' faults behind me. Like that's the topmost thing I've accepted today in today's session. And second thing is that I'm not I'm going to avoid the honey that is dropping from top of the tree, and I'll just hang in on the rope and wait until those rats cut off my rope and whatever fate I had.
So Girishma is saying that from today onwards, she doesn't want to look at the faults of others. So she always wants to keep her portfolio of faults in the front. And the second thing that she is saying that she doesn't want to actually taste that honey which is falling from the tree. So she doesn't want to go behind sense pleasures. So she somehow wants to wait until the rope gets cut, and hopefully she will not fall down. She will just fly away with the spiritual plane will come and take her to the spiritual world. Yes, so that is her takeaway point from today's session. What about others? What do you think? What is your takeaway point today?
Prabhuji, there were a lot of takeaway points, but I think the topmost was the law of attraction, what you explained, how we don't have to find faults in Krishna. Instead, we say that, Krishna, you have this quality and I don't. So please bless me to have this quality as well. So that we remove the unwanted qualities in ourselves. And the second most important thing I thought was being equipoised and avoiding extreme emotions, even though there are extreme situations.
Exactly. So very good points. In fact, we should understand these principles of law of attraction. We should actually see good in others. By seeing good in others, we will attract the good qualities within us. Extremely important. And at the same time, never have any extreme emotions. Be equipoised. Very good, Dave. Anything else? So you listeners on YouTube, you can feel free to ask and share your viewpoints.
Yes, Guruji.
Yes, Uma Kumar.
And nothing lasts forever, Guruji. Even pleasure or problems, nothing lasts forever. So we need to see all the things in similar manner.
Exactly. So never get disturbed you never get elated by the pleasant things, and never get depressed by the unpleasant things in life. Right? So these are extremely important points, and please try to contemplate on all these things. Now you have certain secrets with you, so you can start looking at all the wonderful points, think about these points, and see that Krishna is flawless, and by seeing Krishna flawless, I will also become flawless. Right? So good, very nice. So please take care, and all of you think about the points that we have discussed today, and we will continue from where we have left in the next session. Until then, please take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.